I'm Stephen Jaffe. I'm running for the 12th District of California Congressional seat. My primary opponent as of the moment will be Barry and Nancy Pelosi. I've been a lawyer for 46 years here in San Francisco. I do civil rights, employment law for employees only, and I am a Berniecrat. And my credentials as a Berniecrat, I am one of you. I'm one of you. My credentials as a Berniecrat are, I worked very hard for Bernie in the presidential election. I gave him a lot of money when I had more than I do now. And I was recruited by the national campaign, and I went to Nevada to help legally supervise the what turned out to be chaotic Nevada caucuses. I'm running against Nancy Pelosi because it's my belief that she has lost touch and is wholly disconnected from the people whom she represents, the people of San Francisco. She sees herself as a national figure, and she is perceived by most people as a national figure. If you look at this sheet that we're passing out, if you don't have one, please get one. It contains a very detailed, dense list of my platform points. And if you look at them and compare them to what Nancy Pelosi stands for, you will see there's a great difference between us. I believe the people of San Francisco are entitled to be represented in Congress by someone who shares their values, who shares their beliefs, and who shares their dreams, who does not take money from huge corporations, who does not block single payer, who refuses to ban fracking, and who amazingly recently has changed her position on a woman's right to choose. So I'm going to stop right there and come in under my 2 minutes. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Hermanson. I'm a Green Party candidate for the same office. I didn't re-register to vote for Bernie, although I was very supportive of that campaign, very appreciative of how he moved the whole political discussion. It's powerful. And I'm really glad to, actually, you guys have welcomed me in and said that Greens are welcome here. Very, very happy. I've been a candidate before. As a Green Party member, I believe that voters in the community will never hear about us unless we have candidates. So this is my 4th time running against Nancy Pelosi. And I've always finished out of running. In 2012 and 2014, I got a little more than 6,000 votes each time. Largely just by myself, talking to people on the street. Most of you got copies of this coming in. This has a very brief summary of my platform on the back. And you've seen my healthcare card. I've been involved in trying to address these issues and inform voters and actually influence politicians now since 2008. So, I know that a lot of you may just feel that you want to vote for a Democrat rather than a Green. I'm doing this. Last year, I more than doubled my vote total. And instead of working 5 months, I'm working a year and a half so that I can be assured of being Nancy Pelosi's only opponent in November. And what does that do? That'll bring national exposure to the Green Party. I need your assistance to be able to do that. It is about developing a debate. I appreciate Mr. Jaffe's platform. You will find that we do not disagree on many issues. Thank you very much.
I want to see one of you guys get into the November race rather than the Republican. I want to support the candidate who has a strongest plan to win. What's your plan to win?
Well, obviously I have some strategies in mind that will help me defeat Nancy Pelosi, and obviously some of them I cannot share here tonight, or Ms. Pelosi's people will know it in about a couple of hours. I'm running on the issues. I am not going to run on personalities. I am not going to run on history or anything else. This is what I'm running on. This is what I'm working on. And I am hopeful and I'm confident that if people vote on the issues that are closer to what their beliefs are here in San Francisco, that I've been listening to for about 3 years now, being politically active, that they will choose me. My hope, my strategy is to finish second, with all due respect to my esteemed competition here. To finish second, I would like to finish in the 30%. Low to the mid-30s would be nice. High 30s would be astounding. I don't expect to beat Nancy Pelosi in the primaries, but if I finish second and the rest of the parties drop off, can I just finish the sentence? If the rest of the parties drop off, I believe those votes will come to me and provide a shock in November.
Last year, President Pickens decided to run. And he tried to talk me out of running. And the President's running, he ran as an independent. I said, no, President, I won't. I'm trying to build the Green Party. And I do congratulate him for being the candidate in November to face off against her. But he didn't really build anything for the future. And it caused me to work really hard last year. I worked really hard for 5 months, and instead of a little over 6,000 votes, I got more than 14,000 votes, and I lost by 2,000. My plan is to work 1.5 years, I have been working, so that I can make up that difference and much more. I will double or triple my vote total so I can be guaranteed of being in the top 2 in the Jeep primary.
I wonder if you could, the two of you could talk briefly on your local activism, community activism.
I am presently the president of the South Beach District 6 Democratic Club. Myself, my beautiful wife, and Sue Bushnell sitting next to her are the founders of that club. We have been politically active. We are in fact the impetus for the dark money resolution that was passed by our club, then by the Potrero Hill Dem Club, and then by the DCCC. I wrote it. I worked on Jane Kim's campaign against Scott Wiener. I worked on my friend Victor Wang's campaign for Superior Court Judge, and I worked damn hard on Bernie's campaign. I've had my ear to the ground here in San Francisco for 3 years, and I talk to hundreds of people every day, and I feel that I am well connected and in touch with what people have to say.
So I moved to San Francisco in 1978. In 1980, I opened a temporary employment service because other agencies were paying people as low as 50 cents on the dollar for what they were building their plants. I paid people 80 to 85%. I had free computer training. I loaned computers out to people. In the 90s, I became president of Merchants of Upper Market in Castro. In the late 90s, I served on the local homeless coordinating board as a co-chair. I served as co-chair of the San Francisco Living Wage Coalition, passed wages for 20,000, increased it for 20,000 workers. In 2003, I sponsored San Francisco's minimum wage ordinance, and I paid for it. Paid $110,000 to win raises for 50,000 low-wage workers. A labor center in Berkeley says approximately $100 million has been transferred into the pockets of low-wage workers since then, every year. I've been a 20-year activist with Single Payer Now, working to get universal health care. I see my time is up. Thank you.
My question is, we talked, I think it was mentioned that Nancy Pelosi definitely is in touch with constituents, and I generally super agree with that. How would you use your role, if elected to Congress, to help support your constituents? Like, what is your vision to help support San Francisco?
Well, I do not aspire to be a national political figure. I aspire only to represent the people of San Francisco. And I don't have to travel around the country raising money for every other Democrat in Congress. I will come here, I will spend more time here, I will put my feet on the pavement and my butt in the chairs to talk to people in San Francisco. Nancy Pelosi, as you all famously know, doesn't like to hold town halls. I love it. I love the back and forth. I've been a trial lawyer for 46 years. I thrive on questions and answers and trying to be articulate and crisp in my responses. So that is really how and I tend to have a different role in the congressional seat than she has now. And that would be how I would keep in touch.
I'd like to be, for the first time, have a representative from San Francisco be an advocate for peace.
Yeah.
To be an advocate for reducing our obscene military spending. On July 14th, the House of Representatives, you'll see on the back of this card, they had a vote on the military appropriations budget. $696 billion. What could we do with even a fraction of that money in our communities? The vote was 344 to 81. 60% of Democrats in the House voted yes. Nancy Pelosi voted yes. And yet, we will soon face massive cuts to the environment, to education, to healthcare, all of the things. They gave President Trump $30 billion more than he asked for. I will be a vote for peace and a voice.
What are your views on vaccination? Vaccination.
I'm a doctor's son. I grew up in a medical family. I believe in vaccination.
So do I.
That's to answer. Since we, yeah, Barry and I do not believe have any significant policy difference.
The conversation about vaccinations in this country, I just read something today that mumps, which is very treatable through vaccinations, you know that 95% of the mumps cases in the world are here in the United States. That's shameful.
Could you talk about your views on education for the United States, and then also how, basically what can be done in Congress to make local education better?
Education is one of really the pillars of a culture. It's the pillars of the culture, and it is probably as fundamental as any other issue before anybody. I would like to see a vast increase in funding through the federal government for education, and I'm particularly interested in the return of the funding of all the things that have vanished from education, which make life worth living. Art, music, dance, all of the things which the wealthier school districts now provide for themselves through sham foundations. And I want to see the funding for that increased. I think the smarter people are, the more educated they are, the better governments they will have. And our record in education in California and the U.S. is just right now abysmal. It is abysmal, and it's got to stop.
So I came up, I did public school, high school and college, also graduate school here in California. I came out of college with no debt. This is something that is crushing our younger generation, where they never, and they even pass laws that when you get old, they can still come after you and take money out of your Social Security check. That's obscene. Free public education. We need more public. I'm not a fan at all. I'm an opponent of charter schools. We need public education, well-paid teachers, decent-sized classrooms. And, these are all things that we really, if I was elected, I will need your support to actually help move that agenda forward.
I actually would like to ask kind of follow-up to that, because as you pointed out, a lot of kids are coming out of college with crushing debt. I am one of them. The statistic on it is 44.2 million Americans owe about $1.44 trillion. So a lot of people talk about, I love race standards, I love progressive movement and everything, and there's a lot of talk about free public college. But what do we do for the people who already have the problems. Like, you know, you get Elizabeth Warren and Dianne Feinstein talk about refinancing, but for someone in my position, refinancing won't do anything. So what do we do for this?
Erase them, like Jill Stein.
We have to provide student debt relief, which is crushing an entire generation of students right now. Some of the proposals that I've heard, right now student debt is not dischargeable in bankruptcy. That needs to be fixed now. Refinancing is another one, perhaps with government subsidies. There certainly are government subsidies when the loans are made, but some of them are now taking over. The government sells the loans to private lenders, and students are left without a remedy. So I am very strongly in favor of refinancing and other forms of public relief for this crushing student debt. Nobody can come out of college with 6-digit debt and hope for a future before they turn 40 or 50. That's just wrong.
So Koreans advocate for abolishing the debt. It's the only way that we really can, and we can afford to do this. And if conservative politicians say, oh no, we can't do it, at least we can afford to take back all of those loans from the private lenders and charge 0% interest, no interest, and allow people to actually pay off, if we continue to have the loans, to have them paid off through public service. We owe it to our young people today to do this.
How can we be sure that your candidacies will not be conduits for money from the Koch brothers and Mercer family? Over the covert to try and discredit Nancy Pelosi.
You mean the candidacy, or after one of us or I am elected and taking money afterwards? I'm not sure I understand your question.
I'm talking about campaign contributions.
I won't take it.
How do you know?
How do I know? Because I only take contributions from individuals. There is a cap on those, and I scrutinize who my donors are. And if anybody is suspicious, I refund it.
Jim Smith from Dallas wants to give you $2,000. How do you know he's not Koch brothers surrogate?
Well, if I don't know it and I give nothing back in return for his $2,000, I'm probably going to say thank you very much. How does that obligate or indebt me to do anything in exchange for the donation? It's only if the donor identifies him or herself and says, you know, I'm really representing the Koch brothers or this corporation, and I want you to remember that after I help you get elected, that will definitely send the red flag up the pole.
I'm agreeing. We really don't take corporate contributions. It's a founding thing of our party. I think that if anybody offered to write me a check, a campaign check that was more than about $400 or $500, I'd be very suspicious. It just, you're writing a check to the Green Party guy? Now, I know that if I'm in the top 2, there will be pressure for that. I think Preston Pickus indicated that he had some pressure there as well. Because it's an opportunity to try to distract one of the most powerful Democrats in the country. So I appreciate your question very much. It is a real one, and it needs to be scrutinized.
I'd like to take a minute and speak on behalf of Nancy.
Absolutely.
I was for Bernie strongly because I believed Hillary Clinton could not win the general election. Sadly, I was proven right. And we all know that Bernie or even Biden could have won it. And that is my central problem here with this entire endorsement process for our congressional candidate. You talk about when you are in Congress. Let's get real. I think we need to be practical, progressive.
First of all, I have never said Nancy Pelosi did nothing for San Francisco. I've never said that, and you're misquoting me on that.
I didn't
But,
quote you. I just said people say it.
all right, so if she's going to be our representative, regardless of what we do here, it appears to be, why should we even go through the election? If it's a done deal. We go through elections because things change, and this is how they change. They change because groups like this get together, and there is a progressive wave crossing the country. And I intend to help lead it, and I intend to be here. And you can shake your head and roll your eyes all you want, but I tell you what, in November, I'm going to be the one laughing. I'm going to be the one laughing about that. Nancy Pelosi is doing all this for San Francisco. I'll tell you what she's doing. She's opposing single payer. She is abandoning women's rights on abortion. She is pro-fracking. She is pro-war. That's not doing anything for San Francisco. That is representing the opposite of what the
So I appreciate your comment. And yes, realistically, there is such a tiny chance that either one of us will actually win in November of next year. But that doesn't mean that a major politician shouldn't have opponents. And it doesn't mean that powerful issues should be raised in an attempt to try to get her to actually address them. It is our duty. And as a Green Party member, I must be out. I cannot be silent regarding this. I believe that Nancy Pelosi, while she has done a number of very good things, she's also a leader of the corporate Democrats that actually, I believe, are helping to destroy this country.
And the question is, why the congressional race? You know, as she brought up, she had asked, you know, there's so much that needs to be done for supervisors. As I've been beating the drum, we need somebody to run for the BART District 8 board. There are a lot of other important positions. So why, for each of you, why is the congressional race the race that you think is so important, even though you have to acknowledge it is much harder to achieve than, say, a supervisor or BART board race?
Well, my answer, I have several answers to that. First of all, I'm 72 years old. I don't have the time to start at the college board, then be a supervisor, then be a state legislature. So if I want to make a contribution to society, I'm going to start here. And as immodest as this may sound, and forgive me, I think I have the experience and the credentials to make a meaningful contribution at the congressional level. I look at some of these guys talking on TV who are congressmen, and I'm not real impressed with a lot of what they say. I think I can stand up there with any of them and make a significant contribution and represent you folks and this city as well as anybody else.
So I live out in District 4, Sunset District. And back in 2002, I did run for supervisor. And I had the endorsement of almost every single progressive organization in San Francisco. Unfortunately, hardly anybody came out to help me win because they figured, it's an Asian population out there, it's pretty conservative, probably not going to elect a white liberal. And that's indeed what happened. Fiona Ma got elected. I ran against her again in 2006 when she ran for state assembly. I think it's important in terms of visibility. I'm for the Green Party. That's what I have really devoted much of my time since I registered Green in 2001. By the way, I was a Democrat before that. Bill Clinton's campaign there, or office time, that just drove me over the edge.
So I want to ask a question. It might not sound very popular from the start, but so both of you are white men running against the most famous female politician in the country, or one of the most famous female politicians. What will you do in Congress to stand up for women's equity, and how will you fight systematic racism?
I'm a white person. I cannot be a woman and I cannot be a person of color, but that doesn't mean that I do not understand or try to understand what their experience in life has been. In this particular question, I have spent 46 years representing people of every race, color, religion, ethnicity, sexual orientation, the whole list of protected class people. That is what I've been doing my whole professional life. And it's impossible to do that without coming to understand what the life experiences of my clients have been. I tried a 3-month-long case in Contra Costa County representing 6 black police officers against the city of Richmond for race discrimination. That's the kind of case I take on. And I sometimes take them on, not because I'm positive I can win them. I take on cases sometimes because it's the right thing to do. And some of my colleagues criticize me for that, but I feel fine about it.
Can I do a follow-up? Can I ask what will you do to fight for equity for women and to tear down systematic racism? So what will you do in your position of power?
Well, a great many of the laws that are needed to do that exist. The problem in our society is they're not enforced. And I would press very hard for the enforcement of Title VII. Here in California, we call it the Fair Employment and Housing Act. They are broad, powerful laws if they are used correctly. But we have to get the DOJ to use them. We have to get the DOJ to enforce them. There's a lot of laws on the books, like the antitrust laws, which need to be enforced, which are just left dormant for years. And they need to be revitalized, fired up, and used to accomplish the things, Claire, that you are asking to do. If you want to give me a more specific example of what kind of thing you could do, I can tell you a more specific answer.
Appreciate your question. In brief, again, it's a very small chance I will be elected, but if I was, I would use my office as an organizing center for those issues. I know that I'm a white guy and I live, I live out in an Asian community. I work in the Asian community. I know that I need to reach out to the African American community and to the Latino community. 2015, I became involved in the effort to save the mission and actually served on that steering committee. Worked hard for over a year on that. Today, I've become involved in actually helping the Bayview newspaper. They publish and they send out a national newspaper all over the country to mostly prisoners that are in jail, but also national politicians. And so one day a month, I'm helping to get out the mail to go out. And I listened to Mary Radcliffe. She has on Black Talk Radio all day while we're working. It's really educational for me. I'm learning a lot, and I'm developing some new relationships in a community that I really should have gone and spent a lot more time in a long time ago.
I strongly believe that the Berniecrats need to focus on who would be the most effective. I'm very appreciative of the debate and discussion we had, but we do have some big openings like the college space in which we have nincompoops running and we have no vacancies. So the question is, where should we put our money and pay to play? And that is a strategic game, and it's an evil one. All the points that police have made are good ones, but where can we make it better? I feel strongly it's our mistake.
Can I respond to that? Very quickly. I don't think you have to make a choice. There's no reason you can't support progressives at every level. At every level. Why? You can't say, oh, we can't support here, let's do the state and local. You should support one of us at the congressional level. You should support whoever you wish. Gail McLaughlin's been endorsed here. You support her for lieutenant governor. And whatever local politicians you want, so long as they share your views and values.
There is not. It's not individuals that speak about it.
So, in answer to your question, everyone has very limited time and money. And I learned that in 2002, when I got all those fancy endorsements, the labor community, all kinds of progressive organizations. Endorsement does not mean that you're out there walking precincts. It doesn't mean that you're doing phone banking. Obviously, you will set your priorities where you feel that you will be most effective. One of the other things I'm trying to do, because Nancy Pelosi probably will retire in a few years, particularly if she doesn't, if the Democrats don't take back the House. I'm trying to establish the debate for future campaigns. It's shameful we do not have someone who is a voice for peace, who is a voice for universal health care. I'm particularly distressed, and my apologies to you, sir. We have no elected Democrats of great prominence here in San Francisco who dare to step forward to challenge it. That's extremely disappointing.
And I want to add that if Nancy Pelosi is reelected in 2018, I strongly believe it's her intention to hand off the seat to her daughter. And we'll have Pelosi for another 30 years, just like her father handed off the mayoralship of Baltimore to his son. We don't have royal dynasties in the United States, and electing for a opponent would stop that.